When we think of Al Roker, we don't just think of a television personality. We think of a man who has been a daily companion in millions of homes across America. The smiling face on the Today Show, the warm voice forecasting the weather, and the heart of a storyteller who has always found a way to connect, whether through a lighthearted joke or a deeply moving segment. And by his side, for more than 2 decades, has been Deborah Roberts, the award-winning journalist whose strength and grace have made her a beacon in her own right. Together, they have become one of America's most admired couples. But behind the cameras, behind the laughter, and behind the countless mornings that Al has helped us start with a smile, there is a hidden story. A story of quiet battles waged far away from the studio lights. And most poignantly, a story of Deborah's raw and emotional reaction that revealed just how human, just how fragile, and just how powerful love can truly be. Al Roker has always been known for his enduring optimism. From his early days at NBC to becoming the nation's favorite weatherman, he has always carried himself with an infectious energy. He's the kind of man who could step onto a rain-soaked plaza in New York City, face thousands of cheering fans, and somehow make the storm feel like sunshine. But life is rarely as lighthearted as morning television. Behind the smile that America knows so well, Al has faced an uphill battle with his health, one that he initially chose to keep private. For years, whispers had circulated. Fans noticed moments when Al seemed a little less energetic, times when he looked tired during long broadcasts. But Al, ever the professional, rarely let anything slip. It wasn't until doctors recently revealed more about his ongoing medical struggles that the world understood the magnitude of what he has been enduring. This wasn't a sudden illness. It was something that had been building slowly, requiring regular monitoring, careful treatment, and above all, incredible resilience. When the news finally surfaced, it shocked viewers across the globe. The idea that Al Roker, the man who had greeted America's mornings for decades, was quietly battling a serious condition, felt almost unimaginable. Doctors were careful in their words. They acknowledged the seriousness of Al's condition, but emphasized his determination and spirit. They described him as a patient who refused to let illness define him, a man whose willpower was as much a part of his treatment as the medicine itself. And in that moment, America saw Al Roker not just as a broadcaster, but as a fighter. But perhaps the most emotional part of this revelation was not Al's own statement, but Deborah Roberts' reaction. Known for her professionalism and composure, Deborah rarely allows her private life to spill into the public eye. Yet when faced with the painful reality of her husband's struggles, her facade cracked. Witnesses described her as visibly shaken, her voice breaking as she spoke about the man she has loved for so many years. Her words carried the weight of fear, the anguish of watching someone so full of life face vulnerability, and the unshakable devotion of a wife who refuses to let her husband walk this path alone. Her tears weren't those of a journalist, they were those of a woman, a partner, a mother, a wife who has seen the strongest man in her life suddenly appear fragile. And in that moment, millions across the country felt their own hearts break with hers. Almost instantly, the world responded. Social media lit up with messages of love, prayers, and encouragement. Fans shared stories of their own health battles, offering words of solidarity and hope. Colleagues from across the broadcasting world stepped forward with public tributes. Some sent personal notes of support to Deborah, telling her to take all the time she needed. Others praised Al's courage, reminding him and the world that his legacy is not just on television, but in the countless lives he has touched. It was clear that this wasn't just a celebrity health scare. This was a national moment of reflection, a reminder that even those who seem invincible are vulnerable to life's hardest battles. Behind closed doors, the fight has been anything but easy. Treatments have been long and exhausting. Days at the hospital have stretched into nights. And while cameras never captured those moments, Deborah has spoken about the difficulty of balancing her career, her family, and her role as Al's fiercest supporter. Her voice has trembled with honesty as she admitted that there were nights when she broke down in tears, unsure of what the future might hold. But then, as she has always done, she found strength again. Not because the situation was easy, but because Al needed her, because their children needed her, and because love, at its core, is about showing up when it matters most. Through it all, what has stood out most is the unshakable bond between Al and Deborah. When Al first revealed his diagnosis to her, Deborah later admitted she felt her world tilt on its axis. But instead of crumbling, they leaned on each other. They prayed together. They laughed together, sometimes even in hospital rooms. They reminded each other of all the years they had already shared and of all the moments still worth fighting for. Their love story, already admired by so many, took on a new dimension. It became less about glamorous careers or public recognition and more about survival, resilience, and faith. For fans, this revelation about Al Roker's health was about more than illness. It became a symbol of something greater. It reminded us that behind the polished smiles of television personalities, there are real lives, real struggles, and real emotions. It reminded us that love, true love, is not about the easy moments, but about the nights spent in waiting rooms, the prayers whispered in the dark, and the determination to keep holding on no matter how uncertain the future may feel. Doctors remained cautiously optimistic. They stressed that Al's condition, while serious, is being managed with careful treatment. They acknowledge the road ahead may be difficult, but they also highlight his resilience. And Al himself has echoed that sentiment. With his trademark smile, he has told fans, "I'm not giving up. I'm going to fight this with everything I've got." Those words have carried weight, not just because of who he is, but because of the millions of people who see themselves in his journey. People who know what it feels like to face illness, to care for a loved one, to hold on to hope when hope feels fragile. This story is not just about Al Roker. It's about the universal truth that none of us are immune to life's hardest battles. It's about the reminder that behind fame, behind success, and behind the bright lights of television, there are husbands and wives, there are families, there are moments of heartbreak and moments of strength. Deborah Roberts' emotional response reminded the world that love is both fragile and unbreakable, that even those who seem composed at all times can be brought to tears, and that sometimes tears are the most powerful reminder of just how deeply we love. As Al Roker continues his journey, the nation is watching, not with idle curiosity, but with genuine care, because Al has been there for us, day after day, year after year. And now, it is America's turn to be there for him. As we continue to follow Al's journey, one thing remains certain. He and Deborah will not face this battle alone. Their fans, their friends, and the countless people whose lives they've touched are standing right beside them. Al has inspired us for decades with his laughter and light. And now, through his quiet strength, he inspires us even more. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when we share the latest updates about Al Roker and other heartfelt stories that truly matter. This is a story that continues to unfold, and you won't want to miss what happens next.